Hello, so today's video, I thought it's quite appropriate that I talk to you about fibromyalgia and living with it, how it debilitates you, and how I cope with it living in a van. So it's been a nice few days just after Easter, and I was getting quite stressed that the van was taking so long to finish. So I wrote myself a list of what needed to be done and realised that there actually wasn't that much left to do. It was mostly little bits and pieces, little bits of trim that needed doing and a few other little bits and bobs. So as we had a few nice sunny days, I thought I'll get on with it. I only had the general level of pain, so it wasn't excruciatingly painful. So I thought, right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be nice and sunny. I will get some shit done. So I cracked on, worked all day Monday, stopped when my back started to give me a lot of pain, my knee. So I started about 10 in the morning and finished about 5 in the evening. Packed everything away. As it was going to be sunny, I didn't bother covering anything up with tarpaulins. I just left it all neatly piled outside so that I could continue work in the morning. Didn't have to put everything away and get everything out again. The next day, got up, decided to wear my back brace and my knee brace, which was a good idea, but it also meant that I didn't feel as much pain, even though it was there. So I kind of overdid it again on the Tuesday, but I was getting so much done and I thought, this is great, I'll crack on. I knew I was going to pay for it, but I didn't expect the bill, should we say, to be quite so high. So Tuesday evening, I had some niggly suggestions that I should stop, but ignored them. And Wednesday, I cracked on and did more. But by 3 o'clock on Wednesday, I was really starting to hurt. So I stopped, packed everything away, covered everything up because I knew we had rain coming, and came in, sat down for 5 minutes, which was a bad idea. Started to get the fibro flu, so body aches. Started off not too bad, but I knew what was coming. So I got up, cooked myself some dinner, got Charlie in, the little one, opened the skylight so that Mikey and Lucky could come in on their own because they climb up on the roof and come in through the skylight. And I put myself to bed. Made sure I had water and painkillers by the bed. Got into bed, put the telly on, thought, right, I'll take some paracetamol and I'll try and preempt a big fibro flare. Unfortunately, that did not work. So for those of you who don't know what fibro is, it's a neurological problem. So standard painkillers don't really help. They help with some of the excruciating pain like headache, back pain, in my case back, hip, knee pain does help a little bit with that, but it doesn't stop the neurological pain. I've not found anything that will help the neurological pain. And so a fibro flare is basically, the easiest way to explain it is as you have the worst possible flu that you could possibly imagine, where your entire body aches from head to toe. In my case, I get a raging temperature. Like, my body, my skin is so hot to the touch, you could probably fry an egg on it. And I get the worst headache you could possibly imagine. And so that was me Wednesday night, laying in bed, tucked up with all the covers around me. And I knew I was warm. I knew I was hot even. I knew I was like too hot, but I still felt cold. So I took some paracetamol to try and bring my temperature down. Didn't have the headache at the beginning, but I watched a little bit of television to try and take my mind off of it, to try and help me to cope with it, because when it hits you, it's completely debilitating. You can't do anything. And this is where solo van life is a bit of an issue, because you don't know how long it's going to last. So I'm filming this today, it's Sunday, and my fibro flare was Wednesday night, and I'm still not over it. So my 3 days of work have equaled 4 days of rest, and tomorrow I won't be able to get anything done either, because I've got a video call at 9:30 in the morning, and then I've got my car MOT at 1:30 in the afternoon. So I need to get the car MOT done so that I can get that sold, because obviously I can't drive two vehicles, although it's been a godsend having a car at the moment, because the cab is full, the cab area is full. But it's taken me 4 days to get over this fibro flare. It's one of the worst I've ever had. The very worst one was the one I got diagnosed from, and that lasted 2 weeks. It's not great. It's not a good thing to live with, and it's very difficult to manage. I literally can't push myself anymore. I've finally accepted that pushing myself those 3 days is not something I want to do ever again. So I basically can't do much. It's quite depressing when you've gone from being a very active person to not being able to manage more than an hour or two of work before you're in agony. It's very difficult to explain to people who don't have it, because they'll turn around and say to me, like, you don't look like you're in pain. But the trouble is, when you live with chronic pain, you kind of get used to it. It's a bit like the whole, you don't know you smell, but everybody else does. You don't know your house smells, but everybody else does. Because you live with it day in, day out, you get used to it. So the amount of pain that I'm in on a daily basis, most people probably could not handle. But I've lived with it now for nearly 10 years. And it's gradually been ramping itself up. Again, a bit like you put a frog into cold water and gently heat it. They don't realise that they're boiling. But if you drop a frog into boiling water, it will hop out. So it's very difficult to try and explain to people just exactly how painful fibro is, how you never really have. I mean, I've had one single day in the last 6 years that I've woken up and not been in pain. Not been in pain anywhere. Most days I wake up and I've got hip pain, or I've got knee pain, or I've got back pain, or I've got all three, or I've got shoulder pain, or there's pain somewhere when I wake up, and it stays there all day long. That's the other thing with fibro, is the pain tends to move around your body. It's never in the same place all the time. You might have pain in the same place all the time, but you'll get extra pains that pop up and they'll move around your body. So one day I'll have backache and shoulder ache, the next day I'll have backache and knee ache, the next day I'll have hip ache and knee ache. It's you kind of like, you wake up in the morning and you kind of think, what's going to be hurting today? And then during the day, you'll probably get extra pains crop up, especially if you're doing stuff. So it really isn't the easiest thing to live with. It's certainly not the easiest thing to live with when you live in a van, all alone with no backup. Now, as yesterday, my friend who also suffers from fibro, she was having a bad flare and she was parked up in a lay-by, and I wasn't feeling too bad yesterday. I still wasn't 100%, but I wasn't feeling too bad. And she messaged me and asked me if I would kindly take her some food. And so, yeah, I grabbed her a McDonald's, drove over, sat with her for a few hours to make sure she was okay. And that's what you need. But unfortunately, there are times when, and I mean, I'm the type of person who will struggle. I don't reach out and ask for help. I should. I know I should. But I just can't do it. It has to be really, 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 really bad for me to reach out for help. A bit like when I was in Portugal and I got gastroenteritis and thought I was going to die because I'd had it for 3 weeks and it wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. That kind of, I need to be in that kind of situation to be able to actually physically ask for help, because I struggle with asking for help. And therefore, yes, when I'm ill, it would be nice to have somebody who can make you a drink, cook you some food, sit with you, help you out of bed, help you back into bed, that type of thing. But I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm not at the stage yet where I can begin to trust people again. That's also another part of what causes a few issues at the moment, is that I just don't want to be around anyone else. I like being on my own. I like the peace and quiet. I like not having to converse with people. I like being able to, do what I want when I want, because I've not had that. I've not had that in my life. I've always had other people to consider. I've always had to work around other people. When I had my children when they were young, I had to work around school and school holidays and clubs and, regular meal times for them and stuff like that, which is incredibly taxing. And I think part of my problem, part of my fibro being so bad, is also that I have lived in survival mode on high anxiety for my entire life. And it's finally got to the point where my body has just turned around and said, we can't do this anymore. That coupled with the menopause, which removed my ability to mask, and was the result of that I got diagnosed with the autism and the ADHD. That's my cat just jumped on the roof. Which I didn't know I had, which was a light bulb moment because it explained a whole load. Obviously, I was diagnosed with ADHD first, and although it was a big, huge light bulb, there was still a few little bits that was like, well, hang on a minute, because that's not quite me. I'm not like that all the time. And it was then transposed that I had autism as well, which does explain everything. It explains the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm only really now 6 years after being diagnosed with ADHD and 4 years after being diagnosed with autism. I'm only really now coming to terms with the fact, because obviously menopause stripped me of the masking abilities. I mean, I can still mask, but only for short periods. So like I can mask long enough to go shopping. I can mask long enough to be in the company of others for like maximum of 2 hours. And then I have a meltdown. My body just, I just get overwhelmed and burnt out and have to retreat to my haven and shut the door. And that's probably why I like the van life the most, because it kind of appeases both sides. So my ADHD side likes adventure, it likes to do exciting things, it likes to go different places, it likes to wake up somewhere new every day, that type of thing. My autistic side does not like that at all. It likes routine, it likes to have the same place, likes to be in the same place rather. My autistic side likes things to be just right. It likes them to be the same. It doesn't like things to change. So when you've got one half of your brain wanting change, the other half of your brain not wanting change, it's a constant fight going on. So the van is the best of both worlds. So as far as my autistic side is concerned, the van is home and it stays the same. I have a place I can rest, I have a place I can eat, and it's familiar, and I'm beginning to develop my routines that my autism likes. But I have the ability to move my home wherever I choose. So when my ADHD spikes and decides we don't want to be here anymore, we want to be somewhere else, we want some adventure, we want to go somewhere, we want to do something, I can just get in the van and drive. Are killing two birds with one stone. So you have your stability, you have your familiarity, so that appeases your autistic side, and then you've got the adventure side. You've got the option to wake up in a new place every single day. You've got the adventure, you've got the ability to travel to new places, to make new memories and see different places. And as a result of that, it's a good compromise. And it's life is about compromise. You can't please all of the people all of the time. And when you've got ADHD, you're always going to have some kind of fight going on in your head. No matter what you do, you're always going to have a fight, because one side is completely the opposite to the other side. There are a few little crossovers, And at the moment, that's why I'm not functioning very well. And it's why I'm suffering so badly with my fibro. And I'm stressed. Stress is a big trigger for fibro. Not a great disease to live with. Illness, disease, illness. I don't know what you'd call it. But whatever it is, it's not great to live with. And it's certainly not easy to cope with when you live in a van. But I do find my ADHD is a lot happier living in a van, or at least it will be once the van's finished and I'm mobile again, because my ADHD is getting itchy feet. So, yes, hopefully I haven't prattled on with a load of nonsense and I can edit this out. Fingers crossed. Anywho, I know I said that the next video would be a tour video, but I felt the need to have a little chat with you about fibro, because I know some of my lovely followers also suffer from it, and maybe you have some hints and tips of what's worked. I've been told to try magnesium and CoQ10 enzyme, I think it's called, and to take vitamin D, and I'm going to try that. I've just ordered some supplements to try that out. But if you've got any hints or tips, I would love to hear them. And again, don't forget, I'm over on Substack and I am posting blog posts more regularly on there. So hopefully the next video will be the tour video. Fingers crossed. Assuming I can get it finished this week, because I really need to leave as soon as the car's been sold, because I've got plans. Anyway, I hope you've all had a nice weekend and the storm didn't damage you too much, and I will see you soon. Bye.